All right, hello and welcome to another episode of Bug Watch. I'm your boy Swissley, here to talk to you about Tyranids, and I have a very special guest today. We have 10th edition's number one UK Tyranid player. Is that enough criteria, Greg? There,
That's fine. There's stuff at
yeah. The UK's full 10th edition number one Tyranid player. Greg Chamberlain's with us today. How are you doing, Greg? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
No,
great introduction. I like that. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. We can talk briefly about how we both did at Nottingham without Tyranids. How did you get on? You took Vortime, right?
I did. Yeah, I did really well actually. I took him as sort of like an anti-meta pick. Almost worked, except I didn't play anything meta, so that was not a good thing. And I took them because they beat Star Shatter. I thought they were good into like the Scion list, things like that, but didn't end up playing any of that in the end anyway. And I lost to your colleague and friend and my friend, Mr. Tom Lohman. That was my one loss to Gene the Cool. So otherwise, they did really well. And it was a tight game. One primary hold is basically the difference to winning and losing that one. So yeah, I think they did really well. I was quite happy with how they performed, to be honest. Yeah,
absolutely. And Tom is a lovely lad to lose to. To be fair, if you're going to lose to someone, he gives you a big hug afterwards, right?
he gave me a huge hug. Yeah, of course.
No, good stuff.
With his gammy leg.
With his gammy leg, yeah. I mean, to be fair, he played the entire weekend on one leg. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was on World Eaters, and kind of more of a chill tournament for me. I really didn't know what to take. I didn't really know, so I decided to take a bit of World Eaters just for a bit of a change. And you know what? As soon as I got there, I was like, I wish I had Nids actually. I wish I brought a Nid army, and I actually played into Tyranids at the weekend. Sorry, at the event, and
I as well.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's unfortunate for you. I know exactly what your army does. So
exactly, yeah.
So no, which was lovely. Yeah, if you want to hear me talk about how I did with those World Eaters, I've actually done a spin-off show called Blood Watch, and that is on that's on the channel, so you can go back and watch that. But today we are here to talk about Tyranids. Well, before we do that, actually, we know Greg has obviously took Votan last time. You mentioned on your show, which we'll get onto in a sec, you and Charles's wonderful show, Top of the Table Minis.
Keep calling it my strings, it winds him up. So just call it mine from now on.
Oh, right, okay. Greg's stream. Yeah, Greg's stream. I mean, you put so much effort into that stream, Greg, as well, mate.
Actually, he's doing well for me, isn't he? My little worker. He's doing a good job.
Yeah. It's like Fabius Baal's little guy, right? He's like Fabius Baal does all the work and his little gimp does all the work. Yeah. I don't know Charles well enough to take the piss out of him, so I feel bad about doing this.
I do it anyway. He's small. It's fine.
I'll buy you a pint next time I see you, Charles. But no, you are moving on to Slaanesh. What is it about Slaanesh that's getting you excited? Oh, is that a silly question?
No, I actually picked them before I realised just how strong they were. I'll be honest. I'm not sad that they're that strong, to be honest. They are a team's choice more than a singles choice. I know they just won Nottingham, and they are clearly good. I do also feel like they've got some horror matchups in them as well. Don't much want to go into that, but I feel like there are some things that will just, if Slaanesh doesn't work, it's not going to work real bad. They're a bit of like a pairings princess, which is why I want to use it for teams. But for singles, I like to have. That's why I pick Nids. I like to have things that have got like a nice flat curve of everything they play, which I find Nids are very much that. They don't have very many bad matchups, especially Invasion Fleet. But Slaanesh has got some real bad ones, but clearly some really good ones as well. So I'm just going to play them for teams for a bit and see how that goes. And I will take them to singles because I've been wrong before. I'm only human, so maybe I'm wrong about that, and I just smash everything. We'll see.
Absolutely cool. I suppose it's kind of like Vanguard Onslaught. When Vanguard Onslaught loses, it seems to like really lose, unless you're Nathaniel Borge, in which case you just go hundreds every single round, and then lose to the eventual winner of LVO.
Yeah. So exactly.
Don't want to spoil the future, guys. The spoiler alerts. Yeah, Nathaniel Borge will feature in today's show because he's now my hero. Yeah. So we've got Theo in the chat saying hello, hi Theo, and we've got Mark also hi, but older with a worse back. Yes, older than Theo. If yeah, it's not hard. Theo's probably the youngest lad in 40k that I know. Yeah. And we've got Lee Churchwood. Oh, coming over from Chaos as well. So we've got Empress Children loving Lee Churchwood in the chat as well. Very good. He actually, so Lee was at Nottingham as well, and he played a lad. You might have heard of him. The guys watching might have heard of him. It's called David Gaylard, and a very close win for David in that game. And Dave also beat another person in our team, I believe. I can't think who it was now, off the top of my head. But Dave, not content with beating half of the team at Nottingham, I'm going to be playing him on Thursday on stream. So you can watch me play Tyranids into David Gaylard on Thursday on our Fight Night show. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard lots of nice things about Dave, so I'm very looking forward to playing him. I've not played him before, so it should be good fun. Come and join us, and it'll be fun. Yes, he beat Paul James, another one of our killers in our team. So yes. Chris Cad in the chat as well. Here to skulk. Yes, I mean that's what we do best. That's what we do best. And actually, if you are now a Vanguard Onslaught stan like myself, after hating it for pretty much a year, Nathaniel Borges has reignited a fire within me. I'm very excited to play it.
I've always loved it. I was going to say that.
You say that again, Greg?
I've always loved Vanguard. I'm just going to put that out there.
So I remember I did a video on it last year, like how to win with it, because I had some good results on it, but I kind of fell out with it because I was like, how the bloody hell do you deal with a lot of the meta threats at that time? But now I actually
time of the patch, yeah, big time. I agree.
It's I think now though, I think it's better placed, and I think Nathaniel kind of proved that. I think it's not. We're going to go through some of these lists, and spoiler alert, guys. I think some of the lists would not translate on terrain sets. That's just my controversial opinion. But one that does is actually Nathaniel's. Probably with the exception of one very interesting unit that he has in the list, but we don't want to spoil the surprise. We'll get to those in a sec. So we're going to be going through loads of lists. We're also going to be asking Greg what his favourite units are in Tyranids, and we're also going to rank the detachments in terms of which ones we think are most competitive. So that'll be very interesting as well. But without further ado, we're 7 minutes in. Let's get on with it. One last bit of selfless promotion. We have loads of shows on this week. Obviously, we've got Bugwatch tonight, and we've got myself versus Dave on Thursday, but we've also got Wings from Goonhammer doing a bit of a meta review on tomorrow night's live show, so that's great. Tom has done some videos on how to deal with reactive moves. Hopefully, David Gaylard doesn't watch that ahead of our Vanguard Onslaught matchup. And then we've even done some bit of lore videos. We're actually, delving out there into lore. So if you are interested in the fluffier stuff, check out our lore video on Wednesday. And of course, Greg's on the show, right? He is an awesome Tyranid player. If you want to see him play Tyranids, go and watch his channel, not Charles Gould's. This is Top of the Table Minis. You can see him actually play this week, where he took Invasion Fleet into the new guard. And you can watch Greg get tabled in 3 turns. If you don't want to watch Greg get tabled in 3 turns, you can also watch him play Imperial Guard from a few months ago, where it's much more of a game. So, Greg, have you got any thoughts on Imperial Guard?
Yeah, definitely. Have I got any thoughts on Imperial Guard? Am I allowed to swear? Or?
Oh, of course, yeah. Swear away.
Oh, I think my phone's playing up. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you're coming through. Just a bit slow, I think.
Well, it's cracking on.
No
worries.
Go for
I think Guard are going to be a problem. I'll be... I'm getting a huge delay. I'm really sorry about this. Getting some technical issues. What I might do is join on my computer and just use my camera. It might be better for it.
No problem at all. Do that and we'll come back to this. Oh, we actually have Top of the Table Minis in the chat. Hey, Charles, how are you doing?
Sorry about that.
We've definitely not been slagging you off, I promise. Nice to meet you, by the way. Right, we will crack on with looking at some lists while Greg gets that sorted. All right, so if you don't know, we're going to go through the best performing Tyranid lists in that LVO, and we're going to go through them in order, and then we've got a bit of a best of the rest where we look at some of the other 4-2 lists, which were pretty cool. What's really interesting, we've got a bit of a summary. Quickly, it's nice to see a simulation swarm here, right? Because it's been pretty naff most of the edition because you have to be on objectives. They've changed that, and people have really bought into it, especially with Tyrant Guard, things like that. So let's have a quick look at this list. We've got Greg back, I think. Whoop. Oh no, he's massive.
Hello.
He is. How are you getting on, Greg? Can you hear me now? No. Over.
I can't hear you. What's going on?
Oh dear. I'll put Greg on mute until he's sorted, I think. Mute, boom. All right, so we've got a Hive Tyrant with Instinctive Defense, and then we have a Neuro Tyrant with Biophagic Flow. So Instinctive Defense gives you that free heroic. Interesting on a Hive Tyrant because it has a bigger base, so you can actually reach things further and further away. And then we have a Neuro Tyrant with Biophagic Flow. So the Neuro Tyrant's going to give that extra range for regenning, which is pretty strong. What's interesting about this is in the list later on, we're going to see those enhancements switched around. So that just shows the flexibility in that space. Let's see if we can hear Greg now. Should we see everyone? Let's have a look. No, still can't. Yeah, we can hear you, Greg.
There we go.
Actually, the sound's so much better now.
Yeah, I just haven't got a camera attached to this computer. Sorry, so I'll have to.
Oh no, that's probably for the best, mate. Don't worry. We're just going through Matt Evans' list. Can you see the screen? Okay.
I can indeed.
Wonderful. So I've just mentioned about the Hive Tyrant with Instinctive Defense. So we've got that heroic with the larger base. We've got the Neuro Tyrant with Biophagic Flow, so it can make sure that things are regenning at a further away speed. Gives them that flexibility to spread out a bit more. And then we've got a Swarm Lord in there as well. So interesting double Hive Tyrant tech here. We've got no battle line, and that's going to be one of the themes that we do see running through this. There is no battle line, or very little battle line within these lists. We've got a Biovore. You've got that neat trick that you can do. So you shoot the Spore Mine, they blow up the Spore Mine, you use the CP, and all of a sudden you've regened D3 plus 1, I think, wounds. I don't know if that applies to the strat as well. But
I don't think it does, actually. One of the strat... No.
Yeah, so it's just D3.
I think one of them does. I think it's the one that you proc where you kill something in combat is just D3, and the other one procs the actual wording of it. Yeah, that's right. So you get those back. Then, okay, but then we've got a Haruspex. And what I was doing when I was looking through this list, I'm waiting for non-assimilator. Is what I'm doing. I'm waiting. Haruspex, which is kind of like, hey, we've got a non-assimilator at home. Lictor, Psychophage, 2x3 Pyrovores, doing the hero thing. Everyone wants to bring this thing to life. Everyone wants 2x3 Pyrovores. And I've always been scared because it felt not very good. But Matt made it work. We've got 6 Raveners, which is an absolute vibe and something a very left field pick that I wouldn't have expected to see in an assimilation swarm list. Nope.
3x1 Ripper, which gives me anxiety on Purge the Foe. And then 2x6 Tyrant Guard, 3 Venom Throps, and 6 Zone Throps. So we've got 3 units for 3 characters to go and sit with, doing all sorts of different bits and bobs there. So what do you reckon to this list, Greg? Because when I read this, I went, wow, that's a vibe. But it done so well.
It did really well. So what I'm about to say is going to sound very strange, but I don't understand.
Please teach us, Matt Evans.
Yeah, if I was to draw that randomly, I didn't know who it was. It was just like a random person. You look at that list and you go, nice free game, you'd probably call it, right? And then you would not get a free game. Clearly, you would get your ass handed to you by Matt Evans. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that stands out to me is one thing I can't make work in any detachment. I haven't personally is the zone ropes. So to use them in this detachment where they've got pretty much no synergies is strange, but it's clearly worked for him. He's probably found the right targets for it, but I found them unreliable even with reroll ones in the Synaptic and Invasion Fleet with sustained and lethals. Even then, I found them a bit like, meh. So maybe regrowing them at, like when they don't all die in one go is quite nice, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? Is there an angle here where it's quite a high value model to bring back, right? Tyrant Guard, obviously, 80 points for 3, but Zoanthropes, is it 90? I think it's 90 for 3, right?
100.
100, sorry. 100, yeah. So actually, they're even better value than Tyrant Guard to bring back. And because they've got a 4-up invuln, potentially, there's an angle there to say, yeah, you kill 2, but you know what, I can regen these quite quickly or quite easily. I didn't watch his game on stream, actually. I haven't watched that one yet. But I didn't see them getting really crazy far forward or anything. I know the Tyrant Guard were quite aggressive.
I love the Tyrant Guard with the Swarm Lord and the Hive Tyrant. Now, I love that double blob. I've played it a few times myself. It works really well.
I tried it in Crusher so I could get the guy through the wall because we were playing on like a semi-WTC map, and I played the rule wrong. Actually, I thought that at the time they could get the +1 to hit for being damaged, but they couldn't. But they could get rerolls to hit, and they hit on 4s, so the rerolls was quite nice.
Yeah, that is good.
But yeah, it's something I think. I mean, me and Greg, we have a slight bias towards UKTC, right? So I would hate to try this on UKTC. I mean, Haruspex is one of those ones that I think it works. You do see them pop up in the States on the GW terrain, but I just could never make it work in the UK. Like,
in the way you get boxed in by your own terrain and UKTC, that Haruspex would go nowhere, really. It just wouldn't leave the deployment zone at most games. Sadly.
It would kill 5 scouts and then die, wouldn't it? That's what would happen.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this is great. But even the number, what's interesting about this is we saw Sam Pope do really well last week with essentially 4, I think it was 4 or 5 assimilation units, or harvester units. He had a Psychophage, a Pyrovore, a Ripper Swarm. That was 4, yeah, and a non-assimilator. Matt's gone much more heavier here. He's got 1 Psychophage, so he's got that, I suppose, that 6-up Feel No Pain. He's either, spreading real wide, or he's not that bothered about it. But then he's got the Pyrovores, and then he's got 3 individual Ripper Swarms, which is obviously going to proc that as well, and the Haruspex. So it's
the Ripper Swarms are great because they're just like a little tech marine for 25 points that just sits there and heals things.
It's a nice little way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want that? Yeah, they have got the disadvantage if someone has indirect, they can just pop them pretty comfortably. But if they don't, they just sit there and they're just healing things for free. Why wouldn't you want that? I've always put 1 or 2 in my assimilation swarm list. So yeah, I can see why they're there for sure.
Yeah, I suppose if their indirect kills it or kills one, then you can just say, okay, +1 to wound against them for the entire game.
Yeah, if you wanted to, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had really good indirect to do that. Yeah, because obviously you won't be able to see them to get into the +1 to wound.
Exactly.
So that's Matt's list there, and he got to the final cut. I believe he lost to the eventual. No, who did he lose to? Was it Floof? Oh, I can't remember. But it's it was the guy from the UK, Josh Roberts. He lost to Josh Roberts.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So the first game he went into Star Shatter, which had a bit of everything. This feels like it went to turn 3 and then they ran out of time because it's a 53-63. I don't know what the first mission was, but I know that a lot of other players did really like high scoring games ones, and I can't imagine Matt, settling for a 6-3 there. And he won that one, actually. I've put those the wrong way around, I think. And then he went into Imperial Agents with a 79-55. Imperial Agents coming out the woodwork there. He went into Knights. So, again, this list going into Knights, I would be like, oh, geez, this is going to be real tough. But it was 3 big Knights and 4 little ones. So maybe a little bit easier with less of the War Dogs or Armigers, but an 88-52, but still not an easy matchup at all.
No.
Then he went into a Slanesh triple soul grinder. This is what I love about America, right? You guys take the fucking weirdest lists, and it's like, round 4 triple soul grinder. What? That's really funny.
You know they're really good in Slanesh now. Probably too good. You know the trick?
Go on, tell me the trick.
So there's if you look, I haven't looked at that list, but I can almost guarantee it's got a contorted epitome and some demonettes, maybe multiple of those. And what you can do, you can pass on the mortal wounds from the whatever damage the grinder takes. It passes on to those demonettes, and they get a 4-up feel no pain versus mortal wounds.
Ooh.
So you basically get a soul grinder sat there with 36 ablative wounds on a basic for free. Well, not for free, it's 180 points, but that's not bad. Basically, they stopped that combo happening from the keepers. They said it doesn't work on monsters, but the soul grinder is a vehicle. I think they've missed it. I think that will probably get fixed, but we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, he then went into a shooty DG game, Death Guard, which a couple of guys, including Charles in the chat, have been saying is a really good game, so definitely watch that. 81, bloody hell. Then he went into an Ultramarines Ironstorm list with loads of shooting, and he managed to do that in, which I can see this doing well against, a shooting meta.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it in those other games as well. And then he went into Josh Roberts, who obviously had a Gladius, and Josh is not a normal player. He is certainly a mutant at this and does really well.
I would say, if I was to look at this list, and this is why I didn't go into simulations for myself, it's I think Guard and Marines in general just kind of shoot this off the table now. I think anything big that's like a single thing, like Tyrant Guard and Hive Tyrant, or Tyrant Guard and Swarm Lord, or anything just like a Norn, a Simulator, that's probably why he's not taking them as well. They just, with that +1 to wound change they give to Marines, and with reroll wounds coming for Guard with Scions instead, it's going to be big blobs of things are not going to have a good time anymore in the meta, I think.
Yeah, because you were trying triple assimilator, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I settled on 2 in the end in the list I was running, and I thought about running. But for me, it just felt a bit too much like... it's why I like this list, because I didn't quite go into as much shooting and much stuff to interact with the opponent. Because you don't get the points to once you start adding those simulators. You run out of all those little things that you think you take it for granted, like the Zoanthropes or the Raveners. You just lose them. You don't got enough points anymore. And then you just sat there sort of like with your fingers crossed, going, please don't die this turn. If it doesn't die, it's fine, because it'll heal 8-9 wounds the next turn, and they've got to do it all again, right? But if it dies, you're like, sad, big sad. And I didn't like that feeling of not just relying on saves. I don't like that. It makes me nervous, and I don't like it.
Yeah, man. No, I remember you saying to me, it's very, you get a very anxious turn 1 and 2, and then you feel like God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so that's Matt Evans. Well done to Matt. An absolutely outstanding display, and go and watch his game on War Games Live. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Absolutely. All right, let's get on to the next one now, guys. This is my favourite. This is my boy.
Oh, yes.
This has reignited the love of Vanguard. 5-1, Nathaniel Borge. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not. So let's quickly go through this list. He's got 3 Broodlords. We've got a Death Leaper. We've got a Neurotyrant with Hunting Grounds. I still stand by it. One of the best enhancements in the book. And a Winged Hive Tyrant with Chameleonic, I reckon, because he had 15 points left. Although he does play quite aggressively with it. We've got 3 times 10 Jane Sealers, 2 times 1 Lictors, 2 times 1 Neurolictors. Nice to see you back, Neurolictors. It's good to see you again. 2 times 6 Raveners, and that's when you go, oh, spice, right? 2 times 6 Raveners. 3 more Raveners. And then he rocks out a Screamer Killer and 3 Von Ryan's Leapers. Yeah, so this for me, right? I love all of this except for one thing.
I think it's the same thing that I'm thinking as well, let's be honest.
But again, I think that's our UKTC bias, mate. I really do, because I think the Screamer Killer, I watched his game, and he kind of he had it on a flank, and he had very little shooting angles going towards it, so it's fairly safe. And then he just moved it forward to kill, I think it was a tank that moved forward. And that's what I've seen him use it. He hasn't used it in previous tournaments that I've seen him on War Games Live. He didn't use it I forgot what he had instead, but yeah, the Screamer Killer's new for this list, so really cool to see it on the battlefield. I think a bit of a head scratcher for me. What do you think?
I think again it's down to terrain. I think we were speaking before we started where the way you could just move through the terrain, like you can stand behind a ruin and just move straight through it. You don't get that really apart from the two middle pieces in UKTC, and it moves 8 inches. The same with the Haruspecs. They've got no business moving 8 inches. I don't know why they only move 8, and they'll never get there really in UKTC. Sadly, and they're quite big as well because they've got their arms sticking out, so they're quite hard to hide. So
yeah, on the UKTC, that bit you can move through a straight line. It's not even in an L, so it's like you literally are like, oh, I hope your unit can't move just horizontal to me and see the massive ass of the Haruspecs that hangs out the back.
I do like it. Like if I had that rule in something smaller that could like work on UKTC, then I would. I think I could see why it's there because if you look at the list there, you've got 2 potential battle shocks with the surprise assault, the stratagem, and you've got the Screamer Killer, then you've got another 2 from the Neurolictors. It's like 5 battle shocks a turn.
Death Leaper if they're under full strength as well, yeah.
Yeah, well, then that too, and then you've got shadows on top of that if you really want to push it. And I can see that really. I mean, I've played Vanguard a lot, and I know if you get the battle shocks off, that's the problem with Vanguard. Unfortunately, if you do get them off, it's if you feel like a god. If they don't go off, you're just a bit, limp-wristed, as it were. You don't really get to punch as hard as you should. But with all those battle shocks, I can see it being really good.
I really recommend people watch him play on Elvio, but also there was a game where I think he played it perfectly against Grey Knights on a previous stream that War Games Live did. I think it was about 5 months ago or something. And it just shows you the power of this list. He can be a pressure jail list pretty easily, or he can react. He's got so many options with it. Another new tech that he's put in is 3 Von Ryan's Leapers, and we actually see this a few more times in the list we're about to go through. But I quite like that as well. 70 points to screen that midfield, or if they don't have infiltrators, have a 10-inch moving bunch of guys that fight first and what have you.
I haven't seen him play, but I can imagine he looks after the Lictors and Neurolictors with them. Most of the Neurolictors, because they don't have their own fight first. And if they're babysat by some Von Ryans, like you try and go at them with some scouts or some like the usual sort of thing that people goes after the Neurolictors with, just won't work anymore because you just heroic for free, fight first, and you kill a couple of scouts, and all of a sudden they're not going to do the job. So yeah.
Again, big fan of Hunting Grounds at the moment. I know I keep banging on about it, but that in the current list that people are taking feels really strong as well.
Is that the one where you can't come in?
Every time something comes in from reserves, on a 2-up, it has to take a battle shock.
Yes, even more sources of battle shock. Yeah, he's really leaned into that, and I can see why. And he's even got the Neurotyranid in there as well. Yeah, I really like this list. It's something that I'm probably going to try with a slight change for UKTC and WTC, but it's something that I will be trying because I do think we started to talk about Guard before my phone fell apart. I do think things like Guard and Marines are going to take things like Invasion Fleet out of the meta. It's going to be really tough time for Invasion Fleet and Crusher, I think, with those two in the strength that they are.
While we're on the topic, what's your top line change? I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I've been looking at a lot of the UKTC maps, and I'm at a GT in a couple of weeks, and I've looked at some of their maps as well. There's a very people for some reason love putting an objective down, and then having a wall just so that you can hold it from one side, just so you can tow on and have your safe expansion just on one side. But what you notice is a 6-inch deep strike would allow you to get on the other end of that objective. If you're pulling together that image, right? So for 5 points more than a Screamer Killer, you could have a deep striking almost Screamer Killer.
Yes.
So that's what I'm potentially thinking of at the moment. That's probably what I'll take on Thursday to see if I can catch Dave Gaylard out with it. I'm sure it doesn't catch good players out, but we'll see if I can catch Dave out with it.
And without rapid ingress, I think the Trigons
Oh, of course, because it got rapid ingress now, can it?
No, if it could rapid ingress still, I think they would be usable, but I just don't know if they're worth it now without rapid ingress. But we'll see. It's worth testing. But
I've changed my mind. It's not. I literally only wanted it for the rapid ingress. It's now in the bin again.
It doesn't work anymore.
You could trigger more battle shocks with a Morlock or something, maybe. I do love Morlocks, but you've got enough damage 1, -2 AP in this list.
Yeah. I don't think it would hurt to put even more Von Ryans in at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Just hiding it all. It's a lot of bodies. Hey, chat, if you have any ideas of what you would change a Screamer Killer to for the UKTC, do let us know. Nathaniel's list is amazing for GW, but we want a solution for UKTC. In terms of who we played, right, this is what amazes me. This is my favourite thing about this list, right? Let's look at these scores. He played Dark Angels Unforgiven Task Force. He dropped 3 points, right? And obviously battered what would I imagine is someone who's quite new. He then went into a Combined Arms Death Guard list and got 100. Largely good stuff, like Index Guard Regiment, 100. Triple Doomsday Arc, triple I forgot how you say them. Orphan. I can't think what they're called. The uppy downy savage shoot like.
Ophidian destroyers.
Ophidian destroyers. That's it. In Star Shatter, bodied that. This is a Necron player who's won 4 games, right? Or won 3 games to play him, and he's pretty much bodied him. Then he goes into Benjurek, who is an incredible player on Bridgehead, which is an incredible detachment, and 20 O's him, but then loses and very narrowly to Deathwatch, the eventual winner of LVO. He barely drops points in this event.
It's really impressive, like so impressive. I would, however, as a caveat,
go on.
How many times did he go first? I'm going to say he went first in most of those games, as a guess.
You reckon?
I think so.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think the Gene Stealer pressure early is... I think if this list goes second, he can still play the game. It's fine. Yeah. If he goes first, it's loving life. It really is.
Yeah. I think it's a very different game going second. Yeah, it's and I'm sure he's got a plan for that. I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So that's Nathaniel Borge. Awesome, well played, mate, and inspirational stuff. Right, third. So this person also went 5-1, but less. I think Nathaniel and Matt really have taken the cake. So let's give Michael his credit here. He's gone 5-1 with Crusher Stampede. So this is 3 different detachments, all going 5-1 at LVO. And geez Louise, he's gone Crusher and took an enhancement. He's gone with Ominous Presence. That is the only one you potentially could take, to be fair. We've then got a Neuro Tyrant, and then we've got the Swarm Lord. So, those 3 pretty popular in a combination. We have a Biovore, 2 Exocrines, a Haruspex. That Haruspec's getting in there again. 2 Lictors, a Non-Emissary, 2 Rupture Vexes, and 6 Zone Throps. It doesn't feel like a lot of stuff, but he's gone away and got there 5-1. What do you reckon to this one?
I think this is as impressive, if not more impressive, than the other 2, because I think Crusher is not in a good spot in the current meta. I mean, the other 2 are up and comers in the current meta, so to see this do well it's really impressive, actually. I think it's a very different list as well. It's not a standard Crusher list either, with the Swarmy and the Hive Tyrant and Haruspex. So it's got a few things in there. The Norn as well, I think it's really, and Zone Throps. I mean, it's just very different, but I like it a lot. It's
absolutely. Well. I think what you've been saying rings true when we look at his game. So he went into Warhorde. So by the way, one of the things that I think Crusher struggles with is OC, right? If your opponent just has loads of OC2 bodies, you're in real trouble. But obviously you do have a lot of OC in this, but I think it's really difficult when your opponent's got more, right? So he's gone into Warhorde and beat them pretty well. I mean, it's round 1, so there could be a skill gap there. Then he's went into Liberator Assault. So I put good slogging. It means foot slogging. Sorry, I've just spelled that wrong. So it's loads of walking infantry. It's a lot of assault intercessors, things like that. And he's bodied them. Right, well, not bodied. He's beat them narrowly. Then he went into a Slanesh army, which had a little bit of everything. He went into some GSC with a 93-78, and that's really good as well because you don't have the speed to get around the board in Crusher Stampede to deal with all these uppy downy or just appearing GSC guys. His only loss was to Inez on his Liberator Assault group. So again, I think as you've been saying, the Marines matchup's a bit rough. And then he went into like old school Sons and did really well into them as well. I hope there was a Overwatch and Rupture Effects that caught Magnus in the eye. That would have been really nice. I won't lie, I think I killed the lion with an Overwatch in Rupture Effects once, which was quite fun. Beautiful. It was one of those, like, I've got nothing else to do, here's a CP. Boom.
So catch that in the mouth.
Yeah, catch that, mate. So yeah, I think really well done to Michael. I think you're pushing uphill with Crusher at the moment, as you say.
Yeah.
But I think he played all those games as well as he could and smashed it. Well done.
And his only loss was to Innis. I mean, he's all right at the game, I've heard. It's not bad, is it?
Decent,
yeah.
So no, amazing stuff. So let's go on the next one. Jeff Peterson, also 5-1 with Vanguard Onslaught as well, but a very different list. So we've got 2 Broodlords, a Neurotyrant, a Prime. We've got 2 times 10 Gargoyles, which is another thing you could add, I suppose, into Nathaniel's list, although I believe he hates them. We've got a Biovore, 2 Exocrines, 2 times 10 Gene Stealers, 2 Lictors, 3 Raveners. That third unit of Gene Stealers is replaced by 6 Melee Warriors with a Prime. We've got the Rupture Effects for a bit of support, 6 Von Ryan's Leapers, and 6 Zone Throps. It feels like there's less stuff in this list than Nathaniel's, weirdly, but I think it's because so many points are taken up by that Rupture Effects.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, for the price of a Rupture Effects, you've got half a Neurolictor and 6 Raveners.
I think if you was to copy and paste a list into UKTC, this would do better in most people's hands, I believe.
Yeah.
I think Nathaniel's he's been smart about it. He's used what's worked for him and on that terrain. I think this list, in my opinion, would do better because Gargoyles they can interact with your opponent's primary and things like that when you've got a slow game. You've got some shooting, which you need in UKTC boards, as you know, because you can. With the UKTC, you've got those huge lines you can just do a hole like 1 inch from the wall from, and all of a sudden your charges are massive, which you can do with Vanguard because you can advance and charge, but still you're getting onto the end. You're not really you're being dictated where your charge is going to end up, which doesn't happen with other board sets as much anyway. So I think I really like this.
I rate 10 Gargoyles. I rate 10 Gargoyles in UKTC a lot. I think. You can uppy downy them and then keep them till turn 5. If you go in second, you just go cool. I get 15 and the last turn, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, let's look at his first game. You'd be gutted. Redeemer. No, go away, Land Raider Redeemer. That was one of the reasons I hated playing them when I did, because Land Raider Redeemers were bloody everywhere. I went into a Grey Knight matchup with 2 of them. It was horrible. 85-56, so a good win there. He went into a big shout out to this lad. I can't think what his name was, or them, if it was not a fella, sorry. He was playing like a really good classic solid Invasion Fleet list, and he got beat off Jeff, and then he went into the next round against another player we're going to look at and got beat off them as well. So respect to that chap or chapette. 90-69. We've got Ultra's Ironstorm, which was a 69-80, so that was where the loss was. He then went into Ret Cadre, which was looking like a really good list, actually, loads of stuff in that, and beat that as well. Slanesh, good stuff, so not an easy matchup, but beat that as well. And then he went into Custodes, which was like loads of dreads and tanks with only a little bit of chaff, and it was 86-60. So really, really well done. Some of those are not easy matchups for a Vanguard Onslaught list.
No, they're not.
Like that Custodian one would be horrible.
Well, that's why I like the addition it's got with the double Exocrine and the Rupture Effects. Yes, I famously don't like Rupture Effects because they can whiff, but they also can just go, oops, your Telemon's dead.
Yeah.
Like it can just happen, and all these tanks, all like what they're called, the Calidus Grav tank, they could just one-shot one. They could whiff for 5 turns, or they could kill 2 in 2 turns. That's what Rupture Effects do, right? So.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So that's Jeff. Let's just quickly look at the chat, see what's going on. Ask Greg how he feels about building Slanesh chariots. Make sure he doesn't swear.
My fingers still hurt. So. They are possibly the worst model to build I've ever come across.
Oh wow, is it worse than Death Leaper?
Yep. Oh, way worse. Death Leap was awkward. I know what you're
Oh.
talking about. That shouldery, twisty bit. Like it's.
Yeah.
But these are. If you look at a chariot, so you especially look at the exalted ones, every single wheel is individual. You have to glue them all. Ah, it's a nightmare.
We've got Bread in the chat. Vanguard feels like it honestly could be the best detachment, but probably only gets great runs at teams. Too risky in singles when you get unkillable matchup. Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean,
I tend to agree. It's what's put me off Vanguard. I know it's good into lots of stuff, but it does still have those horror matchups. Demons being one of them, and they're back in the meta big time. So all these battle shocks that you
Demons
want
a
to do
horrible matchup. Talk me through that one.
for Vanguard, yeah, because if they're running like T10 stuff, which they will be a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like even Sinesh is running 2 to 3 keepers or Shalaxi. Then you've got like the Nurgle stuff's going to be running 3 ground clean ones and Rotigus. Anyway, so it's all lots of T10 plus, which all of a sudden you're winning them on 6s with your Gene Stealers. Which is going to be your bulk of your damage in a list like this. And then if you try and battle shock them, and they pass on a 5 up in their shadows, they get
Of course, yes,
a
yeah.
heal. So you,
yeah.
you're just healing them, and like I've been frustrated before, and I've half killed a ground clean one, but I had to make him battle shock, or I was never going to kill him. And I've like gone do a battle shock, passed it, healed. Do one more, passed it, healed. Like, oh, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. Do one more, healed, back to full health. Great, yeah, cool. That's just that. So I think
what better place to gamble than Las Vegas, right?
exactly.
Hit me.
I think Chaos Knights are going to take a little creep back into the meta as well, with the extra dog they can bring now and stuff from the changes. Also, bad matchups for the Vanguard, very bad. I found.
Yeah, I wonder if you just against Demon just shadow the warp turn their turn 2 before you've hurt them.
You have to, but then that's the
Yeah.
problem. If they pass everything, which on a 5 up or 6 up, if it's -1, they're probably going to pass a lot of them. And then all of a sudden you're not getting the +1 to Reuben and your Elictor. And if you do the math, it's really, and every time you don't kill something like a demon, most of the big demons are so good that they just wipe whatever tried to kill him in the first place on the way back. So it's rough. Same with Chaos Knights. You go into a carnivore, don't kill it, and it's killing 6-7 Gene Stealers, and that's that squad neutered basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you bang on. We've got Theo in the chat asking if we can donate to your charity, your chariot fund. Any super chats today, guys, will go straight to Greg's Slender Chariot Fund. But he only on the proviso he makes it on stream.
It's not worth it. There isn't enough money in the world.
Yeah, and Bread suggesting a Morlock. Yeah, I do like Morlocks in the Vanguard Onslaught. The problem is there's already what I like about the Screamer Killer is it's damage 3, and I think that's what Vanguard misses. So we want some big damage is what we want. Maybe all one eye or something like that is a little bit easier to hide. I'm not sure. All right, let's go next one. Brandon Catling. Catting. Sorry, I kept writing Catling when I was searching for his name. So this is another assimilation swarm list. Really interesting. So we've got a Hive Tyrant with Biophagic Flow and a Neuro Tyrant with Instinctive Defense. That's the back to front from Matt Evans' list. Just shows you it's quite flexible in terms of enhancements in this detachment. They have some really good enhancements, to be fair. Instinctive Defense is pretty solid. We have 10 Hormigans and 2 times 20 Termagants, which is very different. A Biovore, 3 Exocrines, a Lictor, a Norn Assimilator, 2 Psychophage, 3 times 1 Pyrovore, 6 Tyrant Guard, and Venom Probes. So if you'd have shown me that list of mats and you said which one of these will do better, I 100% would have said this one, because it feels like this is just a bit more like tight and more assimilation's norms, I suppose. But still, to go 5-1 is pretty outstanding. What do you reckon to this one?
Do you think that the enhancements are just written down on the wrong one? Because I don't see any reason to put them that way around.
So is the Neuro Tyrant with Instinctive Defense going with the Tyrant Guard to then Heroic in, and then they're going to have +1 to hit, or maybe +1 to wound if the unit's battle shocked?
Yeah, but I believe I think they'd be with the Hive Tyrant though, right? Not the.
Well, I suppose it depends. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's found some lot of balance, and that's why it works that way. But yeah, Who knows? I just think
I suppose-
Hive Tyrant on his own is probably. This is the one detachment that he loves having the Tyrant Guard with him, So you would normally do that. So
Do you put the Norn on the middle objective on the left hand side, and then the Hive Tyrant within 12 of it, so that you can constantly trigger free regens, and then on the other flank you've got 6 Tyrant Guard with the Neuro Tyrant, just as the core to that side, maybe.
yeah, I wonder if it did he play on stream at all? I don't know if it
No,
did.
I don't think he did. No.
Ah, it's a shame.
Interesting to find out. Hey, Brandon, if you are watching, tell us what's going on here, man. We're excited about it. It's cool.
That's a puzzle for sure.
It is. Norn Assimilator, loving that. And yeah, no Ripper Swarm, so my anxiety is calmed slightly. One Lictor I thought was quite interesting because obviously I suppose you can do some actions with other bits and bobs, but for me, I get nervous when I get containment and I've got one Lictor.
But that's one part of containment done, and then they can do something else to do beside, can't it? Oh. Hello. Oh. Are we back? Oh no. If you can hear me, I can't hear you now. I don't know why. Ah, there we go.
There we go.
It's sorted itself.
Jeez Louise, that was hard. Thank you for being so patient. And yes, as Mini Phil says, it was the shadow in the warp. All right. So in terms of who Brandon played, he got his loss against Star Shatter. And then he went into, imagine round 2, you go into Kyle Grundy and his Rec Cadre. But then you batter Kyle Grundy 82-66, and you're quite happy with yourself. Then we're going into Triple Keeper Slanesh, as you mentioned, difficult matchup.
Yeah, very.
But a 93-72. I mean, a lot of these are close games. He then went into Bikes, Predators, and Noise Marine Vanguard Vets. Not Vanguard Vets. Veterans of the Long War, which is, again, a difficult list. Then we went into Halacreed MSU, so loads of Admeki nonsense, but did a good 15-point win on them. And then he went into that chap that was playing the classic solid IF and did really well into them. I think that's really telling, that score, right? 141. So the chap playing Invasion Fleet could have absolutely been on this show. He had 2 games against Tyranids that he unfortunately lost, but 141 between Assimilation Swarm and Invasion Fleet. Do you think there is an advantage for Assimilation Swarm in the mirror?
Yes. I don't think Nids have the damage output, well, invasion fleet anyway, to one-shot things, which is kind of what you need with a simulation swarm, where you can start proccing heals and stuff here and there. And as you know, Tyranids generally kill things by committee, and I think that favours a simulation swarm quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to say a big thank you to Catherine Dalzell. Thank you for becoming a member. Very kind. Come and join our Discord. We've got loads of good banter in there, including a 40k TTS league. So come and join that. All right, cool. So that is Brandon. Well done, Brandon. We're nearly through the 5-1s here. We've got Reuben Gariby with Synaptic Nexus. I had to include this because it has Synaptic Nexus in. That's pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted Synaptic Nexus to be good so much. I wanted to play it for the next couple of months about Christmas time, because I just painted 2 Norns, and then they ruined Hammer of Contempt for me, and I was like, oh, not sure now. But let's go through this list. Hive Tyrant with Synaptic Control, so the -1 damage. We've got a Neuro Tyrant with Power of the Hive Mind, which will give him the really good Flamer. Swarm Lord. So those 3 coming in again, showing up again as a threesome. We've got 20 Hormigants, a Biovore, an Exocrine, 2 Lictors, a Psychophage, 2 Rups effects, and here's where all the points are: 3x6 Tyrant Guard.
Wow.
We like the chonk. We do like the chonk. So yeah, I think this is going to hold 2 objectives like a motherfucker. And yeah, it's going to be a big, chunky, solid, difficult to kill army. What do you reckon?
Oh, I like it. Yeah, it's the Tyrant Guard a choice in Synaptic. It's not something that I would ever consider go hand in hand. I'm trying to think of the synergies there. Like you get 5-up invul. That's okay.
Hammer Contempt kind of gives it a pseudo 2-up armor for 1 attack.
I
+1
guess.
to hit, +1 to charge.
Yeah, the +1 to hit is nice. Reroll 1s to hit and wound. Is that I can get? No, just to hit, isn't it? I can get wound.
Hit and wound from a 6-inch aura,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess there is some synergies there. Just something that I hadn't, I'll be honest, never really thought about doing. So that's pretty cool. As something that he's seen that is useful and he's made it work. I mean, he's done very well. So
yeah, I like the 1 Exocrine for the 2 Ruptures, because he's got to make it a little bit more reliable when you need to kill the Silent King or something like that. You know, you're hopefully going to get your hits through.
Oh, he's there. There he is. We can ask him.
Oh, is Reuben in chat?
He is.
Yeah. Hey, Reuben. Congratulations on your 5-1, brother.
Really good.
Yeah, well done, mate. Well done. Tell us what you see. What was your favourite thing about the list while we quickly go through the games you played. So, first up, you've got Death Company, the Death Company detachment for Space Marines, Blood Angels. So I've heard lots of bad things about that detachment, but to be fair, 57's not terrible for round 1 against obviously a good player like Reuben. We've got Hallowed Martyrs Good Stuff, where that's, I think, was Reuben's loss, a 34-84, so a difficult one. I suppose using the Miracle Dice would be a bit of a rough one to take. Then we went into Good Stuff Star Shatter. Yeah, I remember this list being pretty strong, and it was an 81-74, so well done to Reuben there. Death Watch that does some things and stuff. Yeah, I basically said that because I don't really know what that list does, but an 85-79. High five, Reuben. Well done. Then he went into a triple Beastmaster and Tantalus Sky Splinter. So that list was also 3-1 when he pulled into it. Like, that's bananas, isn't it? I suppose that the Beastmasters aren't necessarily as strong on GW as they are on UKTC, so you need 3 of them, perhaps. But yeah,
it's more of like a jail list, I think, because they get to scout and move quite fast early. So I think versus a lot of things that can't fly, they're just going to trap you in your deployment zone for like 2 or 3 turns, and you're not going to be scoring any points. So I can see where that's come from. But if you can fly, yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Whee, see you later.
Yeah.
And then a Combined Arms Black Templar list, which you got another good victory against. So yeah, another 5-1 with Synaptic Nexus. Big fan. I think Reuben, actually, if I remember rightly, you've got a channel. Feel free to put it in the chat, mate. I feel like I recognize your name now, and that you've done this before with Synaptic Nexus. But put it in the chat if you do have a channel, mate. We'd love to promote it. Cool. All right. And then the best of the rest. So this was all the guys that went 4 and 2. I had to put this in because our boy Kobe Walters from the Discord managed to get a 4-2 here. He was on stream as well. He played on stream with his invasion fleet.
Nice.
Interestingly, no invasion fleets in the 5-1. All invasion fleet for the top 3 of the 4-2s. So interesting little anecdote there. So these lists are very different. If you are interested in taking invasion fleet, please do have a look. I won't go through all of these because we don't necessarily have time. But there's some really interesting takes here. Kobe took 2 Screamer Killers in his invasion fleet list. He did note he probably wouldn't do that again. So fair play. He did say that in the Discord. I hope he doesn't mind me giving his secrets away. You've got Lee Page, who I've played before with when I was playing Tyranids and he was playing World Eaters. And he's took a load of OC bodies there. Hopefully, I inspired him when I tried to beat him with 90 Termagants or 80 Termagants. But obviously, Malicept is making a return in each one of these lists, which is also cool. And then David Delisle, a name we do see come up quite often on the show, with a bit more of a, what would you call it, traditional invasion fleet list, but with some spice in terms of Zoanthropes and Death Leaper sneaking into the list as well. So really cool. So is there a few different trends we have? Well, there's a couple of running themes I pulled out from these lists. We've got 9 out of 9 have a Hive Tyrant variant. 9 out of 9 lists have a Hive Tyrant, but then some of them have none. So what does that mean? It means some lists are taking 2, some lists are taking none. And I think that's really cool for diversity. However, 9 out of 9 have a Neurotyrant. So basically all the lists have Neurotyrants, which is really, really telling about how popular they are at the moment. What is it? What would you say, Greg, is so good about Neurotyrants that makes them indispensable in lists at the moment?
So I've never run one. I didn't like the points it would cost to maybe get a Battle Shock off, but I will concede. I think if I was going on Nids again now, I probably would be finding space for one. I've started to realise. I think changing the meta will depend on how good Battle Shock is as well. So currently you've got like Necrons, you've got Guard. They're not very good leadership. So all of a sudden, when you're making them leadership 8 or 9, and they're talking about, like, for example, the demons problem, that helps with that as well, and because that can make them have on a 7-up rather than a 5-up in their shadows, just things like that. So yeah, I do think for that 100 points it's worth putting into a list now, and all the top performers have pretty much got one, so that says it all, doesn't it, really?
Absolutely. We do have 16 Exocrines, which, to be fair, the top 2 list didn't have any. So I think it's really impressive that because one of the things that kind of put me off a little bit of bugs recently is, you put in 3 Exocrines, you put in some Rupture Fexes, blah 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 blah. But that's why I really like Nathaniel's list, because it hasn't got any, and I think it's really interesting that you can take Exocrines, but also you can take lists with that.
Yeah.
Zoanthropes making a big return at this event. Lots of Zoes.
Oh, have we gone again? Hello?
I don't know what is going on with this.
It's back. Hey, what's happening?
Oh my god! I keep having to reconnect my internet. What a disaster! I don't think anyone saw Zoanthropes before 2024. I think 2024 they had a year off. What do you reckon?
I still don't understand why they're there. I still don't think. I'm not convinced. I'm clearly wrong, but I'm going to give them a try. But I've tried them many times. I've tried to make them work. Hitting on 3s, they're rolling 1s with an Exocrines there, with some lethals. I
would say most of them were paired with a Neurotyrant. by the looks of
That's
things.
true. Yeah, of course, with the Neurotyrant, yeah.
I think in a
It's the
meta you
range
don't
that gets me.
Yeah, 24 inches is a bit shit, innit?
That's the one that's always I think, oh, they're really good. You dice them into a few things, they do really well. But then you realise you're just 24 inches, and most people just measure like 30 away. I know you can advance and shoot with a Hive turret nearby, but you just stand to a point where you can't get shot by them, usually, is what I've experienced.
I agree. I do think if I'm being generous, you kind of say, okay, I'm going to take 6. And because I don't know what the meta is going to be like, I don't know if people are going to take hordes of Admech Skitari or if they're going to take Knights, because it's all up in the air, right? So I think if I'm being generous, you are taking them as a bit of a flex pick. You can deal with a few different options.
The blast keyword is nice for them, especially with the blast profile. With the scions and things becoming, good in the meta, there's probably a good shout from there. But do they get to shoot before the scions shoot them?
No, probably not.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So yeah.
And then Gaunts have gone. Battle line much more sparingly taken at this event, which is interesting because we're big fans of our Gaunts, aren't we, Greg?
Oh yeah, I'm very sad about that. So.
And then recent data slates have had an impact. We've had 36 Tyrant cards appear. I bet there wasn't a single one at last year's LVO.
Yeah.
3-man Von Ryan's Leapers seem to be quite popular as well, with a few lists with those in. And we even caught a few assimilators which wouldn't have been in the list this time last year. What has lost out, I think we've seen less Norns in general and no Trigons. Obviously, Trigons were still quite popular this time last year.
Yeah.
The most taken individual unit was Lictors. There was 17 Lictors, which I've put underneath because what essentially that means is they're going to be 70 points in 2 months' time.
It's so good, though.
It's so good. I still take about 70.
Don't say that.
Although it makes me think about Pyrovore, to be fair, after that.
Yeah.
And also, 4 of the 7 detachments were represented, which is still quite compelling, right? I think not many people can say that, or not many detachments can say that.
Yep.
So, yes, let's move on to the next slide, which is actually our detachment ranking. So, Greg, talk us through your rankings of the detachments.
Have we done the exact same? I think we have.
No, not quite. Not quite.
Okay. When I sent you that, I said invasion fleet maybe, and there was definitely a caveat with that. I am not certain with the current upcoming meta with Scions and Marines I've mentioned multiple times. I think they might knock them out of that spot. I think for now I'd just leave them at number 1, but there's a world where they just can't play the game versus those sort of lists. They just don't have the tools to do it. So we'll leave it there for now, but that's with a big asterisk saying maybe. The rest of them, I think, stay in the same order I put them in, with no real caveats. At Vanguard, I think, are very good. Still got some horror matchups, but have some very good matchups too. Assimilation Swarm, right up there with them, I think. Again, this seems to be the ongoing problem with NIDs. They have lots of advances into lots of things, but each attachment has its own little, which I guess is balance. But it's good into 80% of the stuff, everyone, and different things as well. Because Assimilation Swarm is not going to do well into a really high shooting, powerful shooting meta, because you're just not going to have a chance to regen. You'll just lose things. And a Vanguard is good at shutting that sort of stuff down, like a gun line, because it gets in its face and shuts it down. So it's quite cool that we've got answers to it, but not there isn't a catch-all answer, I don't think, anymore. Crusher Stampede is going to struggle now. If Invasion Fleet's going to struggle, Crusher Stampede's going to struggle even more because it doesn't have the 5-up Feel No Pain. That's my opinion on it. If Invasion Fleet can't survive, then Crusher's got no chance of surviving, in my opinion. Synaptic Nexus, it's just the AOC changes. It just doesn't seem to do much.
It doesn't. There's not this is really good at.
Yeah. Again, it's just something that I've never really taken to. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see what Reuben's been using, for example, with a Tyrant Guard. So that could maybe push it up, because I didn't notice that. I didn't think to even use them in Synaptic Nexus. So I'm not saying I'm an expert at that detachment, but for me it's not up there. And then we've got the new warrior detachment, which I did a little review on. It's just a way of taking more warriors that are worse than Vanguard warriors or Invasion Fleet warriors, essentially, or Synaptic Nexus warriors. You're just a worse warrior than you can take more of them, which is not great. And then in Swarm, I mean, do we need to talk about
R.I.P.
that? Absolutely dead in the water.
I've gone similar to you. There's a couple of things I've kind of put in just to be different, but we'll go through them. So Invasion Fleet, I'm with you. I would give Invasion Fleet benefit of the doubt. I kind of, you say asterisk, I say benefit of the doubt. The reason being is it's reacted to everything and been the best every time. So I imagine there's something in there, or it's just going to survive through it. I think Assimilation Swarm is better than Vanguard Onslaught, because I think you can take a lot of stuff that just doesn't die. The Tyrant Guard stuff, a non-assimilator. The problem with non-assimilator is it doesn't have an invuln, and it can just take a few shots from DDAs and just be dead. But you can just drop a 4-up Feel No Pain on it, which is really cool. So I do think it's still better than Vanguard Onslaught, which is second. I think when Vanguard, as we've said a few times already, when Vanguard loses, it really bloody well loses, and it feels awful. But when it wins, it's like, it's great. It's awesome. Crusher is okay. I think you are a gun line in a gun line meta where the other guns are comparable. We've still got one of the best anti-tank weapons in the game if it hits, which is a big caveat. I agree with you in terms of like things are a lot harder for big monsters, but I do think Crusher can see it through a little bit. It doesn't have any defense against shooting, which is really rough.
That's what worries me about it. What worries me about Invasion Fleet is the meta is becoming so lethal in shooting at the moment that I don't think Invasion Fleet, even with the Feel No Pain, like a Tyrannofex isn't going to survive for like Scion Drop, for example. So if that's not going to do it in Invasion Fleet, it's certainly not going to do it in Crusher Stampede, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you could do a bit more close quarters in Crusher. So if you have like more Maliceptors, I think, and this I'll summarize this at the end. But if you have more Maliceptors in your list, I think you could really push in and say, okay, I can't outrange you, so I'm just going to get really close and -1 to give you -1 to hit and be annoying with my invul and things like that. I've put Bioflame Onslaught ahead of Synaptic Nexus. That's because, again, like you, I don't really know what Synaptic Nexus does now. I don't think it has its own spice. I actually think Bioflame Onslaught and Synaptic Nexus, if you mix them both together and into one detachment, would be a really cool detachment.
It would.
And I said this with my Bioflame Onslaught review. The Bioflame Onslaught is a gargoyle detachment. I love 20 gargoyles with a prime to give them a 5-up invuln. You give one of them the enhancement to give them -1 to hit. Now you've got 20 gargoyles that are -1 to hit, and with a 5-up invuln that you can just string across your opponent's line and then take away where you need them, just to be obnoxious. I'm a big fan of that. I love what the guy did in Sweden, where he took 3 Maliceptors and made them strength 12 when they were shooting stuff. I thought that was really clever. And then you can put some chaff in there to make up the rest. I don't even think you need that many warriors. I'd maybe take 2 units, 3 shooting warriors to remove cover. Even then, I mean, that's just a longer range Pyrovore, so that you have to spend a CP on. So it doesn't feel great. I feel like there's a use for them in some way or another, but don't get me wrong, it's not a great detachment. It's one of those you take to an event for a dare or for a laugh to see if you can actually win some games with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, Synaptic Nexus I'm not a big fan of. And then Unending Swarm, like the games I had with that this time last year, I absolutely loved it. It was such a good detachment. I played that detachment for 3 months. My back's never been the same, but what a time. What a time. So there you go, guys. Do you agree with those rankings? Tell us in the chat. We've got Mr. Monster. Good to see you again, my friend. He does a video nearly every day on Tyranid, so go watch that. The guy is prolific. 60 gargoyles with a 5-up invuln does sound pretty awesome. Cool. And then we've thought about some units for you guys. So I've asked Greg to pull out his top 3 units that you want to be thinking about with lists, and I've brought my top 3 left field units, which I want to scribble out Trigon now because I forgot that it can't.
I was looking at that. I was like, what?
Shit, yeah. Oh no. Oh no, I've been found out.
He was drinking. He was drinking.
You tell us about your top 3 units while I find a replacement for Trigon.
I mean, Gene Stealers and the Broodlord, Invasion Fleet. You could put them in Assimilation Swarm. I believe there's a place from there. You can put them in Vanguard, obviously. They're just incredible for what they do. I overlooked them for quite a while, and I regret it because once I started using them, I was like, "Whoa, these are amazing." Just a solid data sheet, solid rules, access to dev wounds, which is something that Tyranids don't really have. So it's nice to have that as well. So yeah, I just think they're solid. Scout move as well. You put them on the front line, forces people to play differently. Some of this again overlooked by a lot of people is just sometimes if someone doesn't kill something or do a thing, it's like it's got no value. But like the value of pushing someone back 3, 4, 5 inches because they're scared of those Gene Stealers is it's massive.
It's like playing World Eaters.
Definitely. Lictors number 2. I mean, anyone that's watching this knows what a lictor is and what it does and what it's all about. It's a cheap thing that's got too many rules. I don't know why it's got all the rules. I explained to some people, and like it's got every keyword you can think of, pretty much. They're great. They're just brilliant little things.
Can I just add one caveat to that lictor, right? Right, guys, listen up. If you use lictors, do not unless do the math. If it will absolutely 100% kill a character, put it in combat. If you need to, do not throw it into a character that it will not eat. I had in one of my games recently, a chap threw it into my Lord of Vicatus, and I'd done the math in my head. I was like, "There's no chance this is hurting my Lord of Vicatus." No. And then the Lord of Vicatus just stood on his head, like straight, like in my opponent's turn. I was like, "Oh man!" So yeah, please do the math on the lictor if you want to try and kill a character, because it's funny because it's designed to kill characters. It just doesn't really do it that well.
It'd have to be a pretty weak character. You're talking like T4, no invulnerable save. Like a good target for it is I think it kills a Technomancer in a Wraith unit pretty well, for example, things like that.
Or guard characters or Eldar characters to an extent.
Anything Space Marine upwards with a 4-up invul, forget it. It's not even worth trying.
Absolutely. So just there you go. Top tip for the day.
Unless you're desperate, you might as well throw that Hail Mary, right?
No, yeah, absolutely. Turn 5, you've got to kill it. You've got to assassinate. Go for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
This last one's interesting.
Hive Tyrant. Again, it was in all the lists, I believe, that did well. There wasn't many I can think of that didn't have a Hive Tyrant.
Well, my question for you here is it any type of Hive Tyrant, or is it just the walking Hive Tyrant?
Just the walking Hive Tyrant. The flying Hive Tyrant it's okay, and it's good in Vanguard, obviously, because it's got the Vanguard keyword, and you can use some stuff from that thing. But I don't think you'd ever see a flying Hive Tyrant in any other detachment. Not that it wouldn't. The walking Tyrant wouldn't just do better.
I think the secret thing about the winged Hive Tyrant that makes it really good is you can stick its wing out so it has a weird angle to like a unit that you've put out to screen, and then your opponent charges the screen, you go -1 attack. And I think for a defensive detachment, a defensive army like we have, even in maybe not Invasion Fleet, but Assimilation, I would definitely consider it. Obviously Vanguard, but I think that debuff can be the difference between it killing their unit killing your chaff and your chaff being alive.
I often find that it just gets itself killed though, because that needing line of sight is the problem.
Yeah, fair.
If that didn't need line of sight, I think that'd be brilliant. I'd be like, yeah, they'd be up there as one of the best. You'd see them a lot more. But paroxysm needing line of sight is like it's a strange interaction. It's like I've got a debuff that works in the combat phase, but I need to see you. So it's like when you think about how that actually plays out on a board, yes, there are occasions where you might get that weird angle where they can't shoot you back, but generally anything that's out there holding objective is going to be also an angle where they can shoot your Hive Tyrant's wings as well. So
yeah, that's absolutely fair.
That's my opinion.
And the Swarm Lord, just still a no for you?
It's not a no. He's up there. I loved him in Assimilation Swarm when I was running both. I was really enjoying that. Them two together, little Smash Bros. They worked really well together. Because what ended up happening was I'd lose my Tyrant Guard with him like pretty early, but then he's still quite chunky. He's a 2 up, 4 up. It still takes quite a lot to get through, and I just with the heals as well. I really liked him, and 8 attacks with 3 damage with twin linked. It's not nothing. It did pretty well. I enjoyed using them two a lot.
I can only assume there's this new Swarmlord model coming out, and then he's going to get dev wounds and all sorts, mate. Because that, even when you see the Swarmlord on the battlefield, he looks so small.
I know. His data sheet is so weak compared to what it probably should be as well.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll hope. Oh no! Right. So, my top 3 left field units. I'm going to give you a really weak replacement for the Trigon. So we are not seeing these very often. I had a chat with someone who's a GSE player. He plays Grey Knights and all these other, and he's a GSE player. And he goes, "Dave, I'm taking final day." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "How good are gargoyles? Why they must be auto pick 3 units in every single list." And I went, "You'd be surprised, mate. They're not really picked that much." I would go as far as saying gargoyles are a very left field pick at the moment. You see much more Hormagaunts. You see, probably similar levels of Termagants that you do gargoyles now. And I actually think, obviously gargoyles, we all know they're amazing, but you just don't see them making lists at the moment. I definitely think they've got a place, and I think that I always try and squeeze a unit or maybe even 2 in my list if I can. Generally it's 1, because 40 points for 2 units, 40 points extra on top of 2 times 10 Hormagaunts is a lot. But 20 points more, God, you'll play 15 points for a rubbish enhancement. You might as well.
I like 1 when I can squeeze them in, for sure. I agree.
Absolutely. The next one that we're seeing quite a little bit is the 6-man Ravener blob. So I got thinking, I was like, are Raveners that good? And then you put it in context. Movement 12 with advance and charge in Vanguard, right?
It's only 10. But...
Oh, is it 10? Sorry, 10 inch with advance and charge in Vanguard, right? That's really strong to start with. And then you go, yeah, but it's that problem that Von Rein's Leapers have. It's -1 AP. It's not -2.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have twin linked. And I think it's kind of like a warrior. It's a warrior unit that's strictly better at punching, but just lacks 1 AP. And without armor contempt in the game, if you're going to be playing matchups where you've got multiple units in combat, like in Vanguard Onslaught, they suddenly go, that's not bad actually, because you end up getting an absolute ton of hits through. If they've got Synapse, they're hitting at strength 6. Like, it feels not bad.
Why do you think they're a warrior unit that punches harder?
So the warrior unit goes in, right? And they have, 6 attacks each?
Yeah.
Warriors? Yeah, 6 attacks each, right?
It's almost identical.
Yeah, it's almost identical. And both units have twin linked. The warriors reroll 1s to hit, to be fair.
And AP2.
Wait. So reroll 1s to be hit. But the Raveners, I was going to say, I can't remember what I'm thinking now. But the Raveners, yeah, they get +1. They get 1 extra attack anyway, right? So that reroll 1s to hit isn't that kind of compulsory, that much of a thing. So what essentially what you're saying is, would you rather have movement 10 or would you rather have an extra AP? And in an army like Vanguard Onslaught, or an army where you're going to have multiple units in combat, actually, and as well, the meta, as you said, Necrons, Guard, things with fairly bang average, armor, -1 AP is going to add up.
I think you're missing the big point of why people are taking them rather than the Warriors.
Oh, and the uppy downy as well, right? So I get that. Sorry.
No, it's part of that, but it's also the other one, the deep strike keyword.
Interesting. Talk us through it.
Because rapid ingress is especially on boards where there's nothing around the edges. Especially you can see it's quite famous for that. There's nothing at the edges. So rapid ingress with Strat Reserve is terrible usually. Because you can cover the edges quite comfortably, but rapid ingressing with someone that can deep strike is much more vital. You find little holes that they can't. Once you see where they land, you can see where they shoot. You can find little holes they can land in that they can't be seen, and then all of a sudden they're like moving 10 inches and advance right into your opponent's lines. I think that's huge. I think that is the number one selling point for me over Warriors is the deep strike keyword.
Yeah, and the movement 10, deep striking. So you're already, if you're 9 inches away from your opponent, you move 10, so you're already at your opponent.
Exactly.
Then you run d6 inches +1 past them because your movement was 10, and then you charge into something right past them. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I've had them in a few games that I've played already, and I absolutely love them. I've put a line here for Von Ryan's Leapers, and they're really not as good as the Raveners. Because, as you say, I don't think they have deep strike. I'm pretty sure they don't. But they have keyword soup. So they have fight first. Love that. They have the free heroic. Love that. They have stealth. Love that. But I think you can take multiple 6-mans of Raveners. I don't think you want multiple units of 6-man Von Ryan's Leapers.
They don't hit hard enough. The lack of twin link is what lets them down.
Yeah. If you have one in your... I like them in that Vanguard Onslaught list for 6 of them. Because if your opponent goes first and wants to get involved with you, and they want to charge something easy, then you free heroic with the Von Ryan's Leapers. It's just a deterrent, right? It's a fight first deterrent, which is really nice. So
absolutely,
maybe 2 Raveners, 2 6-man Raveners on 1 Von Ryan's Leapers, 6-man is quite interesting. If not as well, the 3-man has done really well this weekend at LVO, and I definitely see the value in spending 70 points in stopping your opponent scouting at you.
If you that game that you linked, the one I didn't get tabled in 3 turns, the other one, I think that I can't remember exactly what I played, but I think I played a very infantry heavy list. It was like 3 lots of Warriors, 3 lots of Raveners, 3 lots of Ginsters, something along those lines. I think I had some Von Ryans in as well, so you could get to see all those working in hand, because it's wave after wave, and it's actually quite overwhelming for a lot of lists to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last one is actually a nod to you, sir, because you were the one that no one was taking flame effects for a while, but your list in Invasion Fleet had one. And yeah, I just think that at the moment, with all the Marines running around, as you say, and other things like Chaos Legionnaires, all these different bits and bobs, a flame effects terrifies people. It changes the way your opponent plays. And I think when you have one, they play a certain way. When you don't have one, they disrespect it. It's kind of like when I played World Eaters, I put a Forge Fiend in my list, and my opponent suddenly hides stuff. Yeah. Same with Flame Effects. Suddenly, your opponent doesn't come out and stand in the middle of the board for no reason.
Yeah, it can't. I mean, it can kill no Marines or 1 Marine, or it can kill a full Rubik squad. It can do one or the other, and that's what I've seen it do either end of the scale. I've seen it do like 8 wounds to Chaos Knights when they just disrespect it, and all of a sudden they've got a 4-wound Chaos Knight that I can just deal with it easily on the next turn, things like that. I have actually been considering triple acid effects in a simulation swarm.
Yeah, I've wrote that list.
I think that has got a lot of play, especially in the current meta. So I might give that a test. Yeah.
No, I totally agree, because those things don't die easy. Nope. And I was, I did write the list of like 2 non-assimilators and 3 flame effects. I was like, oh, this is chunk. This is so much chunk. But it's whether or not you can get it to do what you want it to do. But no, really interesting, really interesting. So that, guys, I think rounds the show up. So thank you so much, Greg, for joining us today. It was really, really fun having you on and getting that perspective of a top tier player. So thanks very much, mate.
No, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'll come on anytime.
Super. So we'll definitely get you on. Maybe we'll do it a monthly thing. But yeah. So, guys, that's it. So we will catch you later. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and definitely come and watch me play Dave Gaillard. Obviously, the more of you that come and watch me, the better chance I have of winning. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So that'll be fun either way. Thanks very much, guys. I will catch you later. See you later. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.